Alright, hello everybody. I'm already getting asked what the Germans actually sent to Norway in terms of historical setup. From what I know, they had a specially formed Panzer Abteilung, so a battalion, basically. The one tank that would represent in this, so I'm gonna take one tank. That Panzer Abteilung ZBV, that means ZBV means zur besonderen Verfügung, for special purposes. The common military term in Germany. When you form a unit for special purposes, or you even have personnel positions where you can place personnel if they're not on predefined positions, but you keep them for special purposes. I myself was on such positions several times, because when I became an officer, before you actually are finished with your education, all the positions that you're on are not regular positions but training positions, and those are all ZBV. But that just as a little background in German military terms. Basically, that Panzer Abteilung had a couple Panzer 1s, couple Panzer 2s, and later they shipped out a platoon consisting of 3 Panzer Neubaufahrzeuge, which was basically a prototype vehicle that was designed to experiment with possibly heavy tank design. I don't know how many of those even existed, and they were never put into use anywhere. But they were armed similarly to a Panzer IV, so I'm going to go on a limb here and say I'm just going to use my Panzer 30 AT, which seems to be a decent mix. I could also say, Panzer II would probably be more realistic, but considering my Panzer will not be super useful here no matter what I deploy, I'm just going to say one of them is the max I'm going to deploy. Everything else would be unrealistic, but they later shipped a couple more up there. I think there were later a couple Panzer IIIs up there and other stuff, but probably the less upgraded stuff. I'm not sure which versions, probably some of the earlier versions of Panzer IIIs and stuff, because the Norwegians, from what I know, didn't really have a whole lot in terms of anti-tank guns, and no tanks of their own, from what I know. So it's not like the Germans faced any strong resistance in terms of anything that could stop their tanks. So there wasn't really any need to bring a lot of them, and the terrain is really not made for that. So I bought a whole lot of new infantry, since most of the stuff that landed here was infantry. I bought 3 new infantry units, 2 regular ones and 1 heavy. I also got an SE infantry, which I'm probably gonna keep. Since we're gonna get all the SE tanks if we get them later, and the captured tanks, I think I got tanks enough. Might be better to keep an SE tank for the soft cap, but considering we're doing an historical setup which will not have the newest stuff all the time anyway, I actually don't think we're gonna have too much trouble in terms of hitting the soft cap, so I don't really care too much about that. Would have been nice to get a tank like Brocada did, but whatever. I think I'm gonna keep it. I mean, we kind of made the rule that once we hit the next limit, so once I can have 3 SE units, I'm gonna keep the first one I get. So are gonna keep everything that's not hitting the limit. Now this is now hitting the limit, since I still can have only 2. But the thing is, now I kinda need to buy the infantry that I'm gonna use later. I don't need to 100%, but I kinda want to. So I'm not 100% sure yet whether I'm gonna keep it or not. Because if I then get in France another infantry after I have already bought what I need, I don't know. Technically, I only need the 2nd Division fully operational in Russia, so it wouldn't be super awkward to sell it. You know what? Let's get rid of it. Let's get rid of it. But I'm not gonna replace it. Yeah, I'm gonna get rid of it. But I'm not gonna replace it because I haven't decided yet what I'm gonna do, and I need to watch out what I'm actually gonna get in France. So we'll figure that out later. But I'm gonna deploy the 3 new ones. Let's see here. I kind of want the more mobile infantry already on shore. That would be Oladier. And that would be Kratschützen. I don't actually think Kratschützen would be all that realistic. Although I don't know whether there were any up there. I would have to look that up. I don't know whether they had any Kratschützen up there. So I'm not going to deploy any. Instead I'm going to deploy my tank. .23, 141. Yeah, this still needs experience, so let's deploy that. I'm going to deploy my new scout. And I'm going to deploy some artillery. Maxed out, so I'm going to deploy the regular ones. And then around here, I want my new anti-tank gun and I want the 88 over there to take out the bunkers. And I probably want my new pioneers up there. And I should probably give them an artillery. Okay. Then we need 1 additional artillery here. What else can we do? We'll have this and this and this as my new infantry. That leaves 5. I want my fighter. I think both my fighter bombers, my Stuka, and my lowest experience level bomber. I think that should be fine. So save that. And let's go. Pretty obvious what has to happen here. We need to first get our gun out of the way. Then I want to do recon here. Oh, that was a good hit right off the bat. That's great. Good stuff. Really doubt I can. Oh, I actually could have reached that. That's not necessary. We don't need to reach that right now. Fallschirmjäger. How far can my fighter get? Might have made a mistake here by not positioning that far up enough. Doesn't matter too much. I'm gonna drop those guys over there. And then what do we have over here? Yeah, let's send in the pioneers. And keep the rest back for now. Just want to get a better picture of what's going on here. Alright. Bring in the cruisers. That's completely suppressed. That's all the support gone. Already sending that up. Blocking this with my tank but not engaging. I don't want to take unnecessary damage here. I'm gonna send that up there. If that takes damage, it's not a big deal. I don't need that to have a lot of firepower. I just need it to survive. Gonna use regular replacements anyway on it. If it takes a little bit of damage, that's some experience for it. Because I don't think I'm actually gonna do a whole lot of damage with it. Let's see, artillery. Alright. I really don't think that these guys are gonna come out. Let's protect my bombers, since I think that's the only thing that's gonna be vulnerable. I don't think the ships can be reached from their airfields. I really don't think so. If so, unlucky. Would engage this? Probably not. Toast anyway, but yeah, it's toast anyway, so we might as well. Oh, took away one strength point, that was good. Pretty much alright, so go. Actually attacking my destroyer, that's weird. Oh wow, it actually survived the fire of the big gun. Actually good, that it required another shot of the 6th strength gun, so my... yeah. My ship's actually still fine, that's good. One of the guns gone already. So let's try it down here so we get some intel on that. Okay, that actually doesn't look so bad. That is almost completely suppressed, so let's see what we can do about that. Ah. Oh well. Good enough. Can we encircle that? No, we can't. We can't. We might be able to next turn. Actually really hoping that that anti-aircraft gun doesn't... Ah! Shit, it's closer than I thought. Ooh. That was a move I shouldn't have made. Doesn't matter. Stukas gain experience like nuts, so losing some on them is not really a big deal. So I'm thinking I'm actually pretty safe already. No, not like that. Soften these guys up a little. Okay, airfield is clean, that's good information. Let's drop those guys over there. Let's hope our Stuka doesn't get too wrecked here, but otherwise I think we're good. Wait. Plane. Plane. No, I actually think I want you down there, because you're the best way to suppress those without actually doing damage to them. Yeah, that's fine, I think. Oh, good. No damage. No damage up there either. Great. Fully suppressed. Take the airfield. Okay. Ah, that was a misdeployment. Wait, can those guys reach me? I don't think so. Let's bring the artillery in the back. Keep that guy at the front. Actually, let's deploy them. Just bomb the crap out of those so they can't do anything about it. My Stuka. I brought them down to 6 and the tank gun should be able to deal with that. Now we should be able to surrender these guys. Wow, only one suppression? Oops. I positioned that already. That was a mismaneuver. Doesn't matter. Not like that would have been much prestige anyway. Okay, bridgehead extended. Those guys don't see us anymore. Digging out the next target already. And the ship is safe. Didn't take any damage. Those guys busy. Yeah, historical in the scenarios, I can't go 100% historical in every scenario, because sometimes, for example, in Holland later, the first couple... Well, the first scenario in Grand Campaign 40 is going over the river near Ibn Email. That was not... that was, I think, 3rd and 4th Panzer Division, I think. The ones after that go basically into the Netherlands. In the Netherlands, there was the 9th Panzer Division, and the 9th Panzer Division had only 2 battalions, while all the other ones had 4 tank battalions. So, yeah, we can't constantly switch around what the divisions look like, because basically all the Panzer Divisions look completely different. They also use different Panzer types. I mean, we can't just switch between, okay, in this scenario, we should use Panther 38Ts, and in this scenario, we should use Panther 3s. We can't upgrade back and forth just to match 100% what that looked like. You can't do that to a certain degree in a campaign. You could do that if you set up those scenarios to be played individually, just on their own, just like you can play the vanilla scenarios. But as you're playing them in a campaign, you have to... We're gonna keep the Panzer divisions, and we're gonna try to represent the Panzer division and later a Panzer Corps with 2 divisions to the standard of what a Panzer division looked like at that time. But we're not gonna make a real effort to make every scenario look alright, especially since some of the scenarios might not even be historical. Oh god, really? Okay, they can't buy any units in the airfield, so let's take the city first. And actually, I think the Panzer might be faster getting up there by taking the road. Ooh. Bigger hit than I was willing to take, kinda, yeah, but... Come on, some good suppression. Decent. Might as well blow it up. This thing can't really one-shot me, so... Panzer, take that. Actually, no. Grenadier is faster in this terrain, so... You want to ask me for the perfect way to ask recons? You're asking the wrong person. I also keep losing them sometimes. Jesus. I also keep losing them at some points. It's just, I don't know. See, that's green units, they take damage all the time. Already suspected they wouldn't have enough firepower anymore. All right. Yeah, that could be moved. And the non-core one. Okay, just closing in on Oslo from both sides. You look at my hard Let's Play, on Guderian, I think, and on Manstein I had... Did I have them on Manstein? I'm not sure. On 2 difficulty levels I had Fallschirmjägers. They were fine. Especially if you're on the offensive. Almost completely suppressed. Where's my... Two range, okay. So no. Yeah, let's take that out first. Air Force down there. I want to come in from the other side first and take out the artillery. Maybe. We'll see. Good stuff. Completely suppressed. That could have been better. There we go. Nah, that's too risky. That's too risky. Keep it like that. City blocked. Same as that one. For a moment I thought I hadn't given those guys trucks, but I did. You guys are no longer useful, you can win the port. Right. Oh wow, those guys are super entrenched. Completely entrenched. There we go. See whether we can force one final surrender up there. All right. And we can't actually fire with that. Okay, completely suppressed. Aw. That was a little hard hitting. Oh well. Maybe we should have brought up the anti-tank gun. I don't know. I don't think we have the time. Nah, let's not game the system. That's stupid. So let me save this real quick. And then just no prestige per turn, right? Yeah. Let's just take it. And that's everything taken. And that is that. All the planes where they are supposed to be. And we made it. So yeah, in terms of what they actually sent up there, let me give you the exact numbers. Let me see here. So, Panzer Abteilung ZBV 40 from 25th April 1940 had 29 Panzer 1s, 18 Panzer 2s, 4 command vehicles, and 3 of those prototype Neubaufahrzeug Panzer 4 things, whatever. They're called Neubaufahrzeug Panzer 4, but they basically don't have anything to do with the Panzer 4. When we do the next, maybe it has the same turret, I don't know. When we do the overview stream, I'm going to show you a picture of that thing. It looks a little weird. I think it was mostly brought up there for propaganda purposes to make the Allies think the Germans actually had heavy tanks, which they didn't at the time. So, save the replay. Battlefield and save. So yeah, no problem. This one I can't really say a whole lot about. I know that they landed on the eastern coast. Like, they landed over here. I know that. And then they marched over there. I'm not sure what landed over there, but the majority landed over here that got finally to Oslo. They, from what I know, they wanted to land directly at Oslo, but for some reason that didn't work, so they landed a little bit further south and worked their way up. But yeah. And there was no way to save the Blücher because she thought this stuff was unmanned, just tried to get through here, got hit, immediately sank. So there's no way you could have saved it in World War II. They had bad intelligence or whatever. They thought those things were not manned. And in other places along the coast, they actually weren't manned. But that thing was. And it sank the Blücher. It's actually good that they named it Blücher here, not KMS Blücher, like they're doing the briefing, I believe. Because from what I know, the prefix KMS doesn't exist. I think that's made up. From what I know, the Kriegsmarine didn't use that. They just called the ships by name. So it was the Blücher, not the KMS Blücher. If anybody knows that better, please correct me. But I remember reading an article about that the KMS stuff is nonsense. And most of the articles, most of the historical stuff I've read about Weserübung and any of the naval stuff, they never use KMS, they always call it just by the name. So I'm pretty sure KMS is nonsense, doesn't exist, it's ahistorical. It's made up after the war or whatever. Okay, so we take a little bit more damage than I wanted to, but I mean, they're green units, so I'm trying to only build them up. So for that, let me actually go to the next. Take a look here. 140, 32, 55, 44, 45. Yeah, they don't lose too much if I bring them up to strength again, but yeah, basically with a little luck we can get them to 1 star by the end of Narvik. That would be nice. But yeah. Oh, by the way, while you guys are here, or at least a couple of you are here, I'm thinking about making maybe a separate stream without Brock, just purely historical, on purely what a Panzer division actually looked like. A little bit down in detail. I think there's that Austrian guy, Military History Visualized, or whatever his channel is called. He does sometimes such presentations. And I kind of wanted to use Panzer Corps icons to show you, okay, this is what it looked like. They had this many guns, they had this many tanks, and they were organized like this, and this is how that changed over time. Would you be interested in something like that? Just not anything about the operations or anything like that, just purely what does a Panzer division actually look like? And how are the tanks actually used inside the division? How are they distributed among their subunits and all that kind of stuff? Because technically there are 2 ways to interpret the way you want to represent it in the game historically. Because you could of course say, okay, when you look at the total number of tanks, there were about 25% of that stuff, 33% of that stuff, and 50% of that stuff, so we should have 2 of those, 1 of those, 1 of those as Panzer Corps units, right? One way to interpret it. Now, of course, that's not how they were distributed. You didn't have a platoon, or well, a platoon, yes, but you didn't have a battalion of Panzer IIIs, a battalion of Panzer IVs, and a battalion of Panzer IIs. That's, of course, not how it was. They mixed that stuff up. So you could also say, we look at the battalion, look at what is the most numerous tank in each battalion, and that is what my units look like. For example, if a Panzer division had 4 battalions, and in 3 of those battalions, the most numerous tank was the Panzer II, and in the other one, the most numerous tank was the Panzer III, we would have 3 Panzer IIs and 1 Panzer III. That would of course mean that you basically, after a certain point in the war, well, actually right from the start almost, you always only have one type of tank, and that will never be the Panzer IV until we meet the Panther, and then you won't have the Panther until it actually is the majority tank in the battalion. You basically will have, early on, you will basically have only Panzer IIs, because they're more numerous than the Panzer I. Even in France, you will run out with just Panzer IIs because they outnumbered the Panzer IIIs. And in Russia, if you're lucky, you will have the Panzer IIIs. And then later, maybe the Panzer IVs and maybe the Panthers. So I went for this interpretation because this gives us a little bit more variety in terms of units. Otherwise, early on, you would never see the early Panzer IVs because they were always outnumbered by the Panzer IIIs. Because that's what it was supposed to be. Because you had basically 2 or 3 companies of Panzer IIIs and only 1 company of Panzer IVs. So the 3 ones would always outnumber the 4s. Because there are always more companies than you had Panzer IVs. So just saying that you could have those 2 different historical interpretations. So technically you could run up in Poland with just Panzer IIs, in France with arguably kinda also Panzer IIs, but you could say Panzer 38s, because there was at least 1 Panzer division or 2 that had the most numerous tank in the Abteilung was the Panzer 38T. Panzer III, nope. All the divisions that had the Panzer III were outnumbered by the Panzer II, even down to the Abteilung level. And in Russia, you could go only Panzer IIIs. But if you go for that interpretation, you would never have the variety. So I think this interpretation, that you actually go for the percentage of tanks in the division, no matter how they're distributed. Yeah, sorry, Bruck. I was planning on doing it on 1900 today, but another live stream that I want to watch starts at 1930. So I knew that I need at least an hour, so I moved it back. Next time I'll try to do it at 1900 again, because I shouldn't have done it today if I had known that. I won't do it on Saturdays anymore, most likely, because those other guys, they play Dungeons and Dragons, and they do that as a live stream now, and they apparently now do that always on Saturday at 1930. So I can't stream at that time anymore because I absolutely want to watch that. So sorry about that. I had already announced it for 1900. I had to move it back because I don't want to miss that stream. But let's face it, this is not the most interesting scenario to watch anyway. But if you just joined without hearing the question, you can answer that for me too. The other guys already said they might be interested in it. I kind of wanted to do an in-between stream at some point, just about, not about the scenarios and the operations and all that kind of stuff, but just a stream about showing, kind of preparing a presentation on how a Panzer division actually looked in detail, down to the company level, how many Panzers, guns, anti-tank guns, everything in terms of equipment they actually had, and how it's distributed. So what does a division actually specifically look like? At least the combat units. I'm not gonna go into how many cooks they had, but at least the actual fighting units, what that looked like specifically, and how that is distributed, and how that changed over time. At least 1939 to 1940. I'm not going to go into Barbarossa again because that would be going into the future, but I would update it then as we move from Grand Campaign to Grand Campaign. I would do that every time we hit a new year. I'd say, okay, they changed stuff. This is what it looks like now. So, because I get a feeling that I need to do that now, because the way we interpret our historical setup is kind of 1 or 2 interpretations. Because obviously if we say, okay, a Panzer division had 50% Panzer 1s, 50% Panzer 2s, so we're gonna use 2 Panzer 1s, 2 Panzer 2s, And later we have 25% that stuff, 30% that stuff, 40% that stuff, and 15% that stuff. So we're gonna use one of each version. That's of course not how it looked like in the division. They of course didn't have one battalion of only Panzer 1s and one battalion of only Panzer 2s and one battalion of only Panzer 3s. It was all mixed up, of course. So every battalion had basically everything. So I think that presentation needs to be done so people don't think because we run around with one Panzer 1, one Panzer 2, they think there were actually German units that ran around with just Panzer 1s, because that's not what it was like at all. So, and there's of course also the difference of what the Germans wanted it to look like and how it actually looked like based on what they had, because there were of course always shortages in tanks. So the actual Panzer Division almost never looked like what it actually was supposed to look like. So I'm gonna try and prepare some stuff like that. There's another YouTuber actually from Austria that is called, I think, Military History Visualized. I think it's his channel. He did something like that, but he only did it for one version of the Panzer Division. He didn't actually show how it developed. So I kind of want to do that. So, okay, since everybody's interested, I'm probably going to do that. I might actually put that in between the Norwegian scenarios. At the latest, I think I might do it after the first couple of Grand Campaign 40 scenarios, right before we hit actual Sedan, because that's the kind of the first mission where we actually go into France proper, where the actual Sicherheitsschnitt starts. Everything before that is kind of going into the Netherlands and stuff, so I might put it there, but that at the latest. I might do it earlier, because there were actually some restructurings after 1939 and before 1940, because they figured out some stuff doesn't really work well here. For example, the motorized infantry division was also redesigned. But yeah, that's it for today, and yeah, I guess we'll see each other either in the next scenario or in that presentation, depending on how quickly I can get it done. I'm gonna use Panzer Corps icons to represent the actual tanks, so that's gonna make it relevant. And yeah, until then, keep your heads up, folks. I'll see you on the next one, which is Lillehammer.